Hey everyone, my name is Corey, and today we're going to be taking a look at Daggerheart. This is the Critical Role role-playing game that was just released. This will be a first look. I know very little about the actual game, although Critical Role is something that I originally hopped onto in the first season, way back when, pretty early on when they were still in Geek and Sundry, like episode 4 or 5. Watched a lot of the first season, so I'm quite familiar with them, and then sort of fell off after the second season. But I'm curious to see what they've got going on in here. This one's interesting because right now Wizards of the Coast kind of has a stranglehold on the market with their monopoly. They've got a market monopoly. So Critical Role is interesting because they could potentially shake that up a little bit, or make some, movement in that space as far as breaking up the monopoly. So kind of curious to see if this seems like that, if this will compete. That's probably like one of the big questions that you'd ask when taking a look at this. I'm curious to see how modern it is. So for example, D&D is really slow moving as far as rules changes and that kind of stuff goes. And yeah, I guess we'll just hop right in. Art is super cool. It's interesting that they still stuck with like a sort of standard fantasy, show some heroes, show some monsters, make it look epic approach. Very cool though, very catchy, lots of colors. So that's nice. Let's see what we got in here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so Spencer Stark was the lead designer. That's cool. I really enjoyed Alice is Missing. Got a few others. John Harper's in here. What else? A few more familiar names. Banana Chan. Some consultants. Cool. So quite a few people that were on here. A few names that are recognizable. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they've come up with. Okay, so let's see what's in table of contents here. Introduction, that'll be curious to see what they're going to prep us with. Okay, they have classes. Bard, Druid, Guardian, that's new. Ranger, Rogue, Seraph, also new. So they got rid of the monk, which honestly I like. We have to compare this to D&D a lot. Warrior is now a fighter. Cleric looks like it's being replaced with Seraph, maybe, or I don't know. We'll have to see what that is, or maybe just Cleric isn't a thing anymore. Ranger. They have the Sorcerer and the Wizard. No Warlock. So Warlock is gone. Monk is gone. Barbarian is gone. Cleric is maybe gone or changed. They have a whole section on the rules, which will be fun to dive into. Looks like a large chunk of the book is characters and then rules, about half the book. There's a section on running the adventure. I'm less interested in that. Adversaries, campaigns, and then appendix. Okay, so I think the main things that we're going to probably look at are chapter 1 and 2, and we'll see what's in there. And then the other chapters are interesting, but they might have some more general stuff that's less relevant to take a look at. Daggerheart is a heroic narrative focused experience. Love that. I do hope that this changes and sort of removes some of the like nitty gritty wargaming aspect that you would see in D&D. because its history is really prominent with that. Okay, so nice little introduction. Really lovely art. Obviously, like we're expecting AAA art in here. Looks like they have their alt text set up nicely, so that's good to see. Daggerheart derives inspiration from a variety of sources. Okay. 13th Age, oh yeah, Apocalypse Keys, that's interesting. Apocalypse World, Blades in the Dark, City of Mist. Oh, that's cool, because this is very popular. Cortex Prime, Cipher System. I don't really care for Cipher System. Dishonored, Dungeons and Dragons, For the Queen. I didn't know For the Queen was moved over to Darrington Press. That's cool. Lady Blackbird, Mass, Pathfinder, Shadowrun. Oh, The Quiet Year. Wow. Some books, The Wheel of Time, Ursula K. Le Guin. Oh, The Legend of Vox Machina. They reference themselves. Okay. Video games is Borderlands, Dragon Age, Elder Scrolls, Riders. Okay. Let's see what they have for this special appreciation. So, GM intrusions, advantage from D&D, narrative flow, enemy types. Oh, there's a map building section based off of The Quiet Year. It's cool. Oh, I like that. The dice players used in Daggerheart most commonly fall into two different categories, your duality dice and your damage dice. Your duality dice are two different colored 12-sided dice, or D12s, that represent hope and fear. Okay, so we're moving away from D20. That is a very major change in like a AAA game like that, so this is cool to see. When you roll to see whether your character succeeds or fails, you roll your duality dice and take the sum of their results. So you're going to have lots of results that are centered around 13, because the average of two 12-sided dice is 13. You'll also tell the GM whether your hope or fear die rolled high is higher. That's interesting. That seems a little bit clunky that you have to do two things in a roll, but we'll see how that works out. We'll see what that looks like. Sessions, blah, blah, blah. We know what a session is. The most important rule of Daggerheart is to make the game your own. Very good. This is a nice pull from the OSR space. D&D is interesting because it's really lost a lot of its history from that. Like, this isn't something that you see in D&D written into their books or codified. So you can get to a lot of D&D tables where people are like, the term rules lawyer comes out of that. So this is nice to see a little bit of conversation just addressing that. Okay, and that is the introduction. What do we need? Players, game master, dice. Needing two different D12s is interesting, because that's not a common thing that people have if you just have one set of dice. It's interesting. Okay, so in here, when I hadn't scrolled down, I only saw one D12. When we scroll down further, you see both of them. Tokens. When you roll dice, you'll add tokens to help you easily count the modifiers. Oh, that's smart. But also, I'm a little bit concerned that there's modifiers. The downside to modifiers is that they're easy to forget. tokens or no tokens, we'll see if that still seems like that could be a thing. To use certain features, you might be required to place tokens on the card or character sheet. That's also cool. Tokens takes from the no dice, no masters set of rules. So it looks like they've really pulled together a lot of different spaces, which based off of the people that I saw in the credits, that is totally what I expect. And again, I'm kind of holding this to a high standard because this game really has to fire on every single cylinder. There's no alternatives there. Optionals, maps, and miniatures. Okay, player principles are good. Play to find out what happens, very Powered by the Apocalypse. So this is like their Powered by the Apocalypse page. For good. Little section on safety tools. More gorgeous art. I like that they have included more stuff into the lore. Because, you know, the default D&D lore, we're imagining like drow, elves, all that kind of stuff. So they really have to do something a little bit different and new to pull away from that while still being fantasy. Okay, and there's realms. Very multiverse, very planes-y. There's the core realms. Some other stuff. Okay, there's lore. Magic and spells. Ooh, they have cards. That's smart. I will always shame D&D for not providing better tools for their players. Depending on your player, they may or may not have magic. It is powerful and dangerous. Very good. A little section on flavoring. They're kind of adding in little, you know, permissions where it's like, this is a thing in D&D. Like they know that in D&D, this is a thing that happens, but it's not spelled out. And they're spelling it out, which is nice because then it sort of does a better job of telling you what kind of game this is supposed to be. At the same time, they started off and said, make the game your own. So this is just opening up options. So that's cool. Okay, so getting started. Character creation. Choose a class. There is the Bard. If you want to play music, or you can play as a wordsmith. Oh, these are all hyperlinked. I love that. That is truly magnificent. A good PDF is just great. There's a druid. It's okay. They're going with the subclasses approach, which is interesting. It would have surprised me if they didn't go with classes and subclasses, just because that is so ingrained to what people are interested in for these kinds of games. And also it lets them have a bunch of products in the future. So it's also a money-making lever. Okay, Warden of the Elements or Warden of Renewal. This one's interesting because it says you can heal your party, which has always been like a kind of like a no-no in RPGs to have like a dedicated healing role, just because that kind of, you can get into weird situations where there's too much healing and just nothing happens. But we'll see what that looks like. There's a Guardian, which is new. I'm going to say that this is most equivalent to the Paladin. Maybe? Or is this like a Paladin Barbarian combined? Play the Stalwart if you want to take heavy blows and keep fighting. Play the Vengeance if you want to strike down enemies who harm you or your allies. This is either a Paladin or a Barbarian or a mixture, or maybe something new. There's a Ranger. There's a Animal Ally, which is interesting because, well, we know what happened with the Beast ranger in D&D. It was not good. This is maybe gonna do better. I would hope so. There's a wayfinder. There's a rogue. So different. There's Nightwalker if you want to be shadowy, or Syndicate if you want to have contacts. That's fun. I like that. There's the Seraph. Okay, so I originally thought that maybe Guardian was leaning towards. This might be the fighter equivalent. And I'm drawing all these equivalents because that's kind of what I want to see, because that's what most people are going to be comparing this against, is going to be compared against D&D. So we're going to make a lot of those comparisons. Okay, the Seraph is if you want to take flight and strike crushing blows from the sky, if you want to dominate the battlefield with a legendary weapon. Okay, so this seems more like the Paladin. There is the Sorcerer. If you want to channel raw power, they have leaned into Sorcerer versus Wizard, which is a very D&D concept. You know, you don't have to call them Sorcerer and Wizard, but they did. There's a Warrior. I'm curious to see what the difference is between the Warrior and the Guardian, because the Seraph seems like the Paladin. The Guardian seems like a fighter, and the Warrior seems like a barbarian-y kind of thing. And then there's a Wizard. You can be the School of Knowledge or the School of War. What do we got here? I did not grab any character sheets. Let me maybe open up. We'll take a look over on this side. What do the character sheets look like? Their website is really nice. Let me where are the character sheets? It's under resources? Yeah. Okay, there we go. There's a character sheet. They have a lot of resources. We'll maybe take a look at those before the video's over. 6 attributes. Okay. Well, let's not spoil the character sheet just yet. Let's go look more at what's going on here. So you choose your class. You choose your ancestry. There's a clank, which sounds like a robotic one. Dracona. Dragon people. There's dwarves, elves, fairies, fauns. They have furbolgs. Love that. Ungrils, Galapas, giants, goblins, halflings, humans. Renamed tieflings. Qatari sound like cat people. Orc, ribbits, and simia. Probably bird people. Choose your community. Okay, in Daggerheart, you're not asked to pick specific languages because in D&D you are, and we need to address this. This game assumes everyone speaks a common language. If you'd like to have regional languages, discuss options with your table. We're good. Okay, and then you have character traits, which we saw earlier. It looks like they have skipped doing like 15, 16, then translating it into pluses and minuses, which I love because that is a dumb system, honestly. What do we have here? We have agility, strength. Finesse is interesting that is separate. Oh yeah, Qatari are cat people. You can live out your catboy fantasy in this game. High agility means you're fast on your feet. So this is like movement. And then finesse is like accuracy and stealth. Okay. So this is like your strength. This is your ability to move quickly. And this is like fine motor controls. So like this is how fast your body can go, and this is how quickly your fine motor skills can go, I guess. Instinct is your ability to sense things around you. Presence is your personality, and knowledge is this. So I like knowledge being one. Presence, that's kind of a weird word choice to me, but I'm not too concerned there. Instinct, another interesting one. The words that they've chosen are like, I like knowledge, strength, agility the most. Presence is fine. If it was named something a bit different, like heart or something like that, that'd be probably better for me, but whatever. Instinct, like it also makes sense to me. Finesse, I am the least interested in. It's kind of, I'm really struggling to see how that's going to be different than agility. Yeah. So that's very curious. Then you get your stats you get to distribute. You get one thing you're good at, two things you're better at, two things you're meh at, and one thing that you're worse at. We have to keep in mind that we're rolling 2d12 as well. So it's really going to be centered around 13s. So a +2 is actually quite strong. Okay. Okay, and then we record some additional information. Your class's starting evasion appears right beneath the evasion field. So your class gives you the ability to evade, which is different than agility or finesse. Okay. This this very large well of things that are like evade, finesse, agility is kind of a little bit confusing to me. It seems like they took the dexterity trait and just really fanned it out from D&D, but we'll give it time. We'll see what it looks like. That's just like the first thing that I noticed. That kind of seems a bit odd to me, but I like the other stuff. Hit points and stress, evasion, hope and fear. You start with 2 hope. Anytime you roll with hope on your duality die, you gain a hope to a maximum of 6. During the game, you can spend hope to help your allies apply their life experiences to challenges and power their spells and abilities. If you instead roll with fear, so you'd say to your GM like, oh, I rolled a 13 with fear, which I can see that being good once you figured it out, but that's definitely something that's a little bit different. And there's a lot of people out there that just want to be like, I rolled a 13, and they won't even add on like their attributes, for example. They won't add on their +2. So curious to see how that works. I think for a lot of people that are in the hobby, it'll be great. But I think for people that aren't in the hobby, it might be a little bit tough. It's interesting because Like you're going to get an even distribution of hope and fear, although it looks like the GM gets all the fear, so that's interesting. That's kind of nice where if someone succeeds and they rolled with fear, then you can still do like a success with a complication. I do like that. That's nice. One thing that D&D is really missing, like absolutely sorely missing, is mixed success. So it looks like they tried to pull that in from Powered by the Apocalypse. And it looks like they've done it in a pretty smooth way. Like this is nice. And the GM doesn't have to use it. They can hold off. You can choose some starting weapons. You can choose some armor. You can choose some more starting items. You can choose a background. Some more nice art. They've got like a nice diversity going on of the characters that they show. Okay, this is new experiences. In Daggerheart, your character's experiences are one of the core ways you express your backstory and expertise through mechanics. This is nice because, again, D&D doesn't have this, and it's lacking and it's missing, so this is one of those things that I'm looking for, being like, yes, they've got a leg up. Experience is a word or phrase used to encapsulate it, so this seems like OSR-style backgrounds. We'll see if that's true. Or like traits or something like that. Your character starts with 2 experiences at character creation, each with a +2 modifier, and they'll earn more throughout your adventure. Before creating experiences, you'll want to have a solid idea of who your character is. I don't love that it's a modifier, but we'll see. Modifiers are easy to forget. So I'm always like picky about them. But you know, I'm not surprised that they still have modifiers, but I was kind of hoping, like, to me, that would have been something cool if they were able to find a different way to move away from that. Like, you know, there's the tokens, for example. There's no set list of experiences to choose from. So this is nice. It's a very, you can make your character your own. I like that. D&D is too rigid. This is much more fluid. Oh, you can even do like phrases. So it can be like, I won't let you down. This is very City of Mist, very Legend in the Mist, which is cool. It's very nice that they're pulling from all these different areas. It's like all these different indie experiences coming together to try and make like a big, you know, juicy competitor to D&D in this space. Once you've decided on your characters to starting experiences, record them in the experiences field. When one of your experiences fits the situation, you can spend hope to add that to your result. Okay, so that's what we were looking at. If it fits the story, you can add more than one experience modifier to a roll. Interesting. I think I would have maxed out at 1 because you can probably get like a little bit. The downside to using this mechanic is people will argue over whether something applies or not. And I've seen that in games. I've seen that misused. For example, someone might be like, I'm a healer, therefore I can poison someone better because I know about poultices and stuff. It's like, okay, like that, I can see that being an argument. But then you get like the really egregious cases where it's like, I'm trying to blow up the sun with my mind, and because I'm a liar, I can do that and I can lie to the sun. And you're like, this makes absolutely no sense. You're being disruptive at the table. So that's kind of the downside to these, is that they introduce arguments. I've never really seen that nicely solved at the table. And I don't think they have that solved here. I mean, the proper way to solve that is probably just have a good table that can communicate and talk, but you know, having some stuff in the game that can help out is important too. Okay, and they have a nice little permission here. I like that they're including all these permission slips where it's like you can change your experience, so that's nice. Choose your domain cards. Domains are the core building block of Daggerheart's classes. What does this mean? The following domains are included in this book. Okay, before I read into this, I want to share what my expectations for this are. So there's this cool thing when you play, like, for example, the Arkham Horror Living card game, where there's different archetypes and they augment who your character is. They're kind of like another matrix, and something that I really want to see more of in role playing games is a matrix of who your character is, where it's like, okay, yes, you have your class, which gives you sort of like a left to right reading of things that you've got, but you've also got another level. So I'm hoping that this domain is that level which sort of goes top down across your class, and you can sort of see like all these different combinations. So it really opens up the permutations, because classes are kind of rigid and there's not a whole lot to them. Whereas once you have this, like, these two things combined, you can be like, oh, I really want to try like a fighter with this domain, or I want to be like, you know, you're mixing these things together to get unique combinations to see how they play together. So I'm kind of hoping that this is what that is. It's going to add like a second layer. I was not expecting to see this. This is cool. Very new concept. I don't see a lot of this in the tabletop space. It's more something I'd see in like the board game space. So we'll see if that's the case. Each class in Daggerheart is formed by combining two of these domains. Okay. So for example, the warrior class comprises blade and bone. The druid comprises arcana and sage. Okay, so it looks like your class maybe comes with this. Each class shares its domain with at least one other class. For example, blade is shared by the guardian and the warrior. Okay. So it seems like with this version, it comes with some preset ones, but in the future, I think it would be cool to see moving, like, you could be like, oh, instead of a sage and a druid, you can be like, let's replace a sage with a new homebrew one, which is very cool because it lets your community and players customize it, but also it's another one of those spots where they can release the product more in the future and figure out more things that they can do, which, they're a company, so they have to make money. So that is cool. And then you have connections. I kind of wish this were earlier. Connections and circles and networks are one of those things that I see this game seems to be doing more of that, but it's kind of, well, let's see what it is, and then we'll make some judgments. Now it's time to forge some connections. Actually, I'll say the one thing that I don't want to see is I do not want to see this game be a game where 5 independent people come together and the only reason they interact with each other is because the jam has a story that they're on the rails for. I want to see player-to-player interaction that puts them together in like a meaningful gameplay way, not in a let's just role play it way. Once your group is comfortable, summarize your characters, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I want to know what a connection does, but it looks like that's not shared here. Okay, so now we can take a look at evasion, or character sheets, starting with evasion, armor. We don't know what that does yet. We've got attributes, level 1. Minor damage, major damage, severe damage. This is interesting. So it looks like when you take damage, you mark HP based off of how much you took. So if it's less than 7, you mark 1 HP. If it's between 7 to 14, you mark 2 HP. If it's above that, you mark 3 HP. That's kind of nice. I like that. It's like 1, 2, or 3. I feel like this could be a little bit confusing at the table. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I see it's kind of like how D&D has stats where it's like, oh, it's a 15, so it's a +2. This is like, oh, I rolled an 8, so it's 2 damage. That extra step is a little bit wonky. It does mean you can get like this nice 1d6 +3 granularity in your damage. But I it's one of those spots where it's like, oh, okay, I can see where that came from, but it might be a little bit awkward. Spend hope to use an experience or help an ally. Volatile magic. Spend 3 hope to reroll any number of your damage dice on an attack that deals magic damage. This is nice. It looks like this is sorcerer specific. So this is cool. I like that it is spending your resource to do the effect, because then you can like charge up over time. So that's like a nice gold star for me. There's your experiences. Royal Mage, not on my watch. See, that's where this, like, I can see people arguing about this, being like, oh, I want to use my experience. And the gem being like, I don't think that makes sense. What I would like to see is something in the game that says, hey, if your group is arguing about this for more than like 10 seconds, just do a quick vote. Be like, does it apply? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. Move on. Like, you need a way to get through that. It could be a source of frustration when your player thinks one thing and the GM thinks a different thing, and it's not lining up. And it has to line up because you have to agree on what you're doing. You get some class features. You get minor illusion. Channel raw power. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sad. I'm sad to see this text once per long rest. That is too bad. I was really hoping to move away from the idea of like, oh, you rest and then all of a sudden, whoop, you're magically more powerful than when you went to sleep. It's a little bit weird because it forces the narrative to be centered around days as a timeline. And I'm kind of like, eh. We have some weapons. We have some inventory. Oh, and there's a character guide. Okay. Use the sidecar sheet to help you find different sections on your character sheet. Slide it beneath your character sheet and pull it out on the left or right side for guidance. Oh, okay. That's so interesting. So what is in the character sheet here? Oh, there's all these character guides. Oh. This is nice. Character guides are good. I like how that it's just a good resource to provide. Seems like they're doing a really good job of providing resources that you need. So like rogue here, I can see spend 3 hope to gain +2 to your evasion until the next time an attack succeeds against you. They got some class features. Oh, they have some suggested traits. So it can be like, hey, you should maybe go with this. Suggested weapon, suggested secondary weapon, armor. Here's your inventory. Oh, this is so nice. It's so nice that they provide some options for when you're doing this kind of stuff. Answer any of the following questions. This is fun. Giving some good background is nice. And we know that the backgrounds translate to your experiences, which are good. There's connections. This is nice, but I want to see mechanical things that make it happen. Okay, at level 2, gain an additional experience, and at +2, and gain +1 to your bonus to your proficiency. Choose 2 options from the list below and mark them. So you'll get to choose 6 of these from level 2, 3, and 4. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's curious. Update your level and adjust your damage thresholds accordingly. Take an additional domain card of your level or lower from a domain you have access to. Okay, so that's those domains that we saw earlier. I do like that. I think that's going to be a very juicy part of how this game works. Like for the people that like coming up with character builds and that kind of stuff, you know, they're going to be looking at classes and domains and how to combine those in fun and interesting ways. And it's nice because they can add things to domains in the future. Like if one domain isn't really firing, they can be like, okay, let's add these things in. Or if one is overpowered, they can sort of like roll back a little bit in the future and make some adjustments. So that's pretty cool. I do like that. It's nice that they're just cards. Having abilities on cards is like, that is fantastic. There's a terrible part in D&D where you have this little column of abilities where you have to write in. And, you know, if you're like a simple character, then that's easy. But if you're like a really complex character, then you've got pages and pages and pages of abilities. You've got spells and spells and spells, and it's kind of a mess there. So this is, okay, so the Seraph is cleric paladin looking stuff. Interesting. Okay, so far I'm impressed with a lot of what I'm seeing. There's like a couple things where I'm like, ooh, we really held on to that, didn't we? And I don't really love that. Okay, so this explains to me why there's 2 fightery classes. Is because the blade domain has to go into 2 of them. And it's cool because in the future they can add new domains, they can mix it up, they can add new classes that combine existing domains. So that's fun. Oh, and they've got like a little wheel. I imagine this will become flexible and change in the future. But yeah, you can see like Guardian and Warrior, and there's the Axe one in between them because they needed to. This seems like that was maybe not what would have interested me. Like maybe there's another way to make that work. But it's okay. I think it's fine as is. Curious to see that the sorcerer and the wizard are not beside each other. More really cool art. Okay, what's on a domain card? There's the level. There's what domain it's from. The number and lightning bolt on the top shows its recall costs. This doesn't affect your character creation, but once you reach level 5, you'll have more cards than space for in your loadout. Blades in the Dark concept. Love that. You can normally only move an inactive card from your vault to your loadout during downtime. So you can like change it up. This is nice because there's another interesting design problem where all the wizards and magic users become extremely overpowered compared to fighters and stuff. So this kind of helps that out. And then there's what it does, types, that kind of stuff. Having cards with types and traits is a smart design choice, in my opinion. Okay, and then there's a section on the classes. So this is taking a little bit longer than I thought. So we'll maybe take a look at some of the classes, but I want to keep the momentum. I want to keep moving through this, seeing what's going on here. We're 45 minutes in. Let's not slow down here. So let's look at. I do not want to look at. Oh, cool. They have like a. Oh, this must be like the simian, the simia. Okay, monkeys. Yes, I thought it was birds, but it's monkeys. Maybe they'll add bird people in the future. It kind of feels like they took some Legend of Zelda inspiration, but Nintendo probably wouldn't have liked that, so maybe that was avoided. Um. Oh, this is interesting. This is the syndicate one who has like contacts and stuff. He is daddy. Love that they included a DILF in the rule book. Okay, let's see. Sorcerer, warrior, wizard, ancestries. Let's take a look at the bard. Let's take a look at the druid. Change my mind. So you get sage and arcana. You get starting evasion, hit points, class items, a small bag of rocks, some nice flavor. Spend 3 hope to transform into a beast form. Okay, what does this look like? Because beast form in D&D was kind of a mess. Mark stress to magically transform into a creature of your tier or lower from the list. What is the list? What is the list? Spells you cast before you transform stay active, blah, 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 blah. Okay, blah, 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 blah. If you mark your last hit point, you automatically drop out of this form. One of the issues with this is someone would transform and then they would be like, okay, give me 10 minutes to look through the monster manual to see what I want to turn into. And it was so messy. You can perform harmless, subtle effects. I wish this wasn't so like weak. Like they make these powers just kind of a little too soft with their touches. Wild touch is a little bit of a soft touch in that sense. Play the warden of the elements if you want to embody the natural elements of the wild. Foundation feature. So mark a stress to channel one of the following elements until you take severe damage or your next rest. Oh, that's nice. So there's this cool design thing they can do where it says severe damage or medium damage or light damage or whatever they are. So they can make that part of the game, which is really fun. Very, very smart. I think so far that the design of this, just on like the gameplay, how it looks, is lining up in a very cohesive way. Quite impressed. When an adversary within melee range deals damage to you, they take 1d10 magic damage. Actually, you know what I don't like about this? People do this all the time in D&D. They cast a concentration spell and they never remember to turn the concentration spell off when they get hit or fail their constitution check, that kind of stuff. So this seems like one of those things where you're adding mental overload to your players where they have to start remembering things. And that's one thing that D&D does poorly, and I hope this game does better. I don't think it's going to solve it, but I hope it does better where it doesn't give you as much overload, where you're not like, you don't have to remember every single thing. Because the thing about playing these games is you do not remember your thing that you're supposed to remember. You'll forget stuff. You won't remember modifiers, all those kinds of things. Okay, those are the subclasses. Here are the beast form options. They keep them nice and generic, so that's good. That's nice. I like how slim the classes are. That is very smart. Bloated classes are icky. And I think this is probably one of the bigger ones because it has a whole bunch of beast stuff in it. Let's take a quick look at just one more. We'll kind of scroll through and see what's going on. Oh yeah, it's really, really brief. Almost too brief. What does this one have? You get permanent damage bonus. Okay. Okay, that is the classes. Ancestries. Very fun. They kept the short rest, long rest cycle, which I don't care for. In my opinion, how it should work is you should get to a point where it's like you can refresh and you can have like a short refresh or a long refresh. And the scale of that should be up to the group of people playing. Because sometimes you want, to last longer. Like you want your time scale to be, we're talking about months or days. So it's kind of like whatever that they included that. It's really easy to adjust, but this is one of those things where maybe I would expect them to, give you permission and say like, hey, do this. So maybe that comes up later, but maybe not. Okay, we got a bunch of other different ancestries. They kept the lucky trait here. At the start of each session, everyone in your party gains a hope. Aw. A nice little support ability. That's nice because it's easy. Love an easy ability. Non-copyright infringing tieflings. Very good. Cats. Can level your catboy fantasy. Frog people. Simian. Folk. Mixed ancestries. This is nice. You can like mix and match. You have your community. Each community has a community feature? Oh, that's good. So if you're highborn, you have advantage on rolls to consort with nobles, negotiate prices, or leverage your reputation to get what you want. Okay, that's good. It was just so poopy in D&D that your background had so little influence on what was going on. I will be sad though if connections don't matter. They have another little permission slip on adjusting things. That's great. They have a little bit on playing characters that are different from you, different abilities. Very cool. A giant woman. This is very sapphic of them. Love that. Okay, we did not see anything on connection, so I'm a little bit like, ooh, what's going on with that? But we have a section on playing the adventure. We still have a lot left to do. I wonder. Oh, yeah, we're like only a quarter of the way through this. Let's take a little bit of a look through this chapter. We might wrap up and then do a part 2 because I don't really want to go much longer than an hour. The one thing I want to learn is about connections. So we're just going to scroll through, see if we see anything that says connections. I will quickly point out there's mixed success, which is great. Um, that's just like the one thing I want to answer before I wrap up, I guess, is how do connections work? Okay. This seems like we want to dig into this, so I'm not going to do this now. I will just, I bet the index will help me out here. Oh, there's a bunch of cards at the end. Oh, this is so nice that you can just have cards for all the abilities. It is so good being able to have a character, which is a stack of cards, and you can like literally look through the cards and be like, okay, this is what matters to me right now. So very genius design decision here. Very smart. Oh, there's a lot. There's a whole lot. I would like the index, please. So connections, that's what I want to read about. Connections. Oh, there's only one page. Oh, the hyperlink was broken. It was on page 21, I believe. Yeah, that's it. That's all you get for connections. Let's see if control find gives us anything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So the reason why I wanted connections to be something more is literally just because the having some kind of gameplay which connects. What am I looking at? Why is there like circuit boards and stuff here? Having connections is good. Like it gives some background, but the downside to not having anything else happen with them is you create them and then you do end up with this party where it's like, oh, wait, aren't we like siblings or something? And it doesn't really come up and it doesn't really matter. So it falls off into the background and it's kind of irrelevant. It just makes it really easy to forget and you don't have a way to tie it in. You don't have a reason to tie it in. So that I think is maybe a miss, is that connections aren't doing more work. They're not where I would hope they'd be, especially since like there's a lot of modern solutions to including that in tabletop games, but that's okay. So we're gonna wrap up here. First impressions, I really like the uh having the classes be very slim. That's really smart. It gives people a familiar starting spot with D&D so they can just be like, oh, a rogue, I know what that is. And you get just enough crunchiness there, but then they took the design and they added in domains, which works well, and they can play with that in the future. They've really made it easy to adjust and change as time goes on. I like the all of the design resources that they've made are above and beyond what I would have what I expected. Like very good, but based off of who I saw in the credits, I'm also kind of like, yeah, that checks out. This totally lines up with what their skills would create. I I'm still missing some of the understanding for finesse. Like if someone said, I'm gonna go hide, you'd be like, okay, roll agility. And it's like, oh no. This is more like how you can traverse. So those leave me a little confused. I think they could have gone with just 5 stats, but that is okay. A lot of the other parts here seem really smart. I think that the minor damage, major damage, severe damage is cool. It's a little bit awkward having to translate. Divesting from a D20 is bold for this kind of like AAA game, major D&D competitor. But I think it'll work out. Fear and hope are curious. I think some of the bookkeeping might get a little bit much compared to players who just like to roll and be like, I rolled a 19 on the dice, and they don't do anything else. They don't add stats. They don't do advantage. They don't think about anything else. They just roll the die and say what they got and move on. And that's like a reasonable amount of players like to do that, and that's fine. Yeah, I guess if you roll 2d12s, you could get a 24. That's interesting. Other things I like, obviously, all the layout in the book and how things are hyperlinked is really good. It looks like one of the hyperlinks was broken, but that's okay. I'm surprised that I even found one just on this first read. I do want to dive into the mechanics in another one. There's just more content in here than I expected, which is cool. I'm really impressed with how much they managed to put in. They've put in more than I expected. What else? The ancestries are nice. The community is nice. The experiences pulling from like OSR style things, that is really smart. I like that. I think the thing that most impresses me is that they have come together and they've pulled a bunch of things that are clearly from, different indie spaces, and they've really taken it and enhanced what is here. If I looked at what Wizards of the Coast is doing with D&D, I don't think they could ever do this. This is so far ahead of where they are that it's not something they could do. I hope that there's some things in the future that the Daggerheart team adds to this, especially around connections. Like I've obviously was looking for that for a while, and I'm a little bit sad I didn't see anything more, but that's okay because it's still there. It's more than nothing, but it's, I'd like some actual gameplay related to that, because they added in gameplay for ancestry, community, all the other things. What else? We'll have to dive in and see what the actual bits and pieces of the rules look like. I'll probably learn something new that I will change my opinion that I have right now, and there's probably some other pieces there to figure out. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. I think my last thought will be is it looks like they've really gone further than I thought they would. Things are really sleek. Things are really, cohesive. But based off of the people that I saw in the credits, I think that makes sense for how strong their game and design skills go. So really cool. Definitely some things to take inspiration from. Not a whole lot in here that is new. So it's kind of cool to see how there's parts of this where it's like, yes, there's a lot of D&D isms. There's spots where they can hop on. D&D players can hop on and be like, I know this. But there's also a bunch of things where it's like, oh, this is a love letter to, this concept. This is from The Quiet Year. This is from Blades in the Dark. This is from 13th Age, or, whatever it happens to be. So that's really nice. I think that is what I probably like the most so far. The different existing pieces brought together to create this new Daggerheart game. So that's pretty cool. We'll wrap up there. I will do a part 2 where we look at the mechanics. And we will probably also go through the other chapters, because those other ones I'm probably going to skim through quicker. And we'll dive in and see what's going on there. This was fun. We're already over an hour. Went by really quick. And yeah, that is my first impression of Daggerheart. I would, if someone wanted to run this for me, I'd be like, sure, let's do it. I would consider running this for people because I love a fantasy game. I love a well-designed game. If a game isn't well-designed, I'm not showing up. And my biggest question mark for whether or not I would follow through on running this is whether or not this is a game that requires a lot of prep. I stopped running D&D because it took too long to get ready. And now I'm here with Daggerheart, and I'm like, how long would it take for me to get ready? Because I don't want to be the GM who's like doing everything at the table. I really liked in Blades in the Dark that's like 15 minutes, write down some ideas, go from there. Daggerheart seems like there's maybe some more options for that, but we'll figure that out next. That's going to be my biggest question mark, is whether or not that's an option. So I would probably run this depending on how much prep it took. If it takes too much prep, that could be a barrier for me, and I might not follow through on that. Thanks for tuning in. This is obviously very exciting, new release. Let me know what you think. If you have different opinions, I want to hear them. If you saw something else that I didn't see, let me know. I like to hear what's going on there. And yeah, we will pick it up with the game mechanics next time.